Hi. Okay, what I wanted to discuss in this video is when a company goes into liquidation, whether or not the director can set up a new company with a similar sounding name. Okay, so this comes up quite often, and there's a lot of confusion as to what the actual rules are, and some people claim to have ways around it, etc. So I just want to look into that in more detail. So essentially, I'll explain what the rule is, and it is that when a company goes into liquidation, the directors cannot use a similar sounding name in a new limited company. So when the company goes into liquidation, for a period of 5 years, it cannot use a similar sounding name in another entity. Okay, and when I say directors, I mean current directors and those that have resigned within the last 12 months. They're all caught by this rule. So there's no good resigning as a director a week before it goes into liquidation. So it applies to all current directors and those within the last 12 months. You are banned from using a similar sounding name for a period of 5 years. Then the question is always asked of, well, what does similar sounding name mean? Can I get away with this and that? And they'll try all forms to try and get a similar sounding name, but without breaking the rules. And unfortunately, it just doesn't work. And the rule of thumb to work out whether it's a similar sounding name is to, if you put the two names next to each other, would you guess that there's an association between the two companies? And so that's the rule. That's essentially what you can't do. And it is, it is difficult. I appreciate that companies want to set up again and they want to use the goodwill of the old company in the new one. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I met a roofer who wanted to use the name of his company that had gone into liquidation because he didn't market his business. He got all his work through referrals, and there was sort of a social media of recommendations, and he obviously wanted to use that in the new company. So he wanted to use a similar sounding name. And it does apply to the trading name as well. So you're not going to get around it by having a completely different limited company name and then using the trading name as the same. It applies to both limited company names and to trading names as well. It applies to it both. Okay. So those are the rules. There are three exceptions to that rule. One is that if you had another company that has been using the similar sounding name for more than 12 months, it's been trading, you can't have a dormant company, it's been trading alongside the company that goes into liquidation for more than 12 months, then that company can continue to use its name. Okay, so that rule applies to group companies basically. So when one company enters into liquidation, the rest of the group don't have to change their name as long as they've been trading, can't be dormant for more than 12 months and using that name. Okay, so there's that exception. The other exception is that you can apply to court and ask for a judge to give you permission to use the company name. That can be quite costly, so it's not a very common procedure, but you can do that. And a judge will look at it, and then you can set up a company and use that name. You can't use the name and then go to the judge and ask. You have to wait for the judge to give you permission, and then you can use it if you get your court order. And the third option is a little bit complicated, but essentially there's a procedure where the new entity can buy the majority of the assets of the company from the liquidator, and then puts a notice in the London Gazette and sends that notice to the creditors. Okay, so there's those three exceptions to that rule. But what I would say is that if your company is in financial trouble and you're considering liquidation, but you still want to set up a new company, a lot of people say to me, it's the only thing I've ever known. I really want to do it again. I had these pitfalls in the old company, but with this new company, I know it can be a success, etc. So I understand the desire to set up again and use the same name. But if you're in that scenario, what I would say is to give me a call and I can give you tailored advice to your company and run through it with you as to what the rules are, what you can't do, and then the exceptions to those rules and whether or not they can be applied to your situation. It's always best to get professional advice in these scenarios because you just don't want to do anything wrong. Okay, I hope that's explained it. All right, thank you very much.